Greetings guys, welcome back to the home slice for another video that's a little bit out of rotation. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this extra content. I recently got a package from my friend Calvin and I'm gearing up in real time to carry a new knife, and I asked him if he had sharpened it or if I should, and he said, hey, you go ahead and sharpen it. And I don't want to give away too much because I don't have a full review worked out or anything yet, but what I ended up sharpening today was this. It is the Viking Tactics Patriot knife in CPM 20CV, hollow ground, a fairly robust blade, made by Hogue Knives. This is actually machined G10, which is amazing. Oh my gosh, the machining that Hogue did on this is phenomenal. And the axis lock, the able lock, whatever Hogue calls their crossbar lock, is actually way different, completely different than on the Deca. It's so smooth. I can't even believe it, guys. Like, they did such a phenomenal job. Anyway, I won't go into a review because I haven't used it that much. It's got nearly like Spyderco level ergonomics so far in use, but I just sharpened it today. And it has some interesting characteristics, and so I figured just going through the different things that I do, like doing kind of a whole spectrum of different tests that I might do and explaining to you guys live what I'm looking for from the test could be interesting, especially for some aspiring sharpeners who are looking to sort of round out their sharpening ritual. Okay, so the first thing that I'll say about this is the progression that I went through. This is 20 CV, it's an M390 variant. I find that although some of you are really high, steels that have high vanadium in them, although they're a little bit finicky about sharpening on aluminum-based stones, I find that often 20 CV, there's some chrome mixed in with the vanadium, softening those carbides a little bit. And I don't mind usually, it depends on the heat treatment, but usually I don't mind too much how M390 or 20 CV reacts to a ceramic stone. And I like to clean up on a ceramic stone when I can because they have really cool sticky adhesive wearing physics where they can kind of pull that burr off and shear it off without creating a lot of damage under the surface of the metal. Now, I'm crazy, like Erica referenced this in the video that kicked this whole conversation off. She's like, Gabe does some cuckoo things, and I do. One of the things I'm into right now is regression sharpening. Oh, I call it that. I don't know if there's a proper name for it, but I like to go up to a really fine grit to polish out the edge and remove damage, and then take a step backwards and use a slightly coarser grit with really light pressure to restore edge aggression to it while trying not to reform a burr. It's sort of this dance that I like to do. I also like to strop in the middle of my progressions sometimes with a coarser or more of a medium strop and then head back to a really fine stone sometimes. I don't do all this stuff every time, but this is what I did for this, okay? So on Alex Garland's advice, I got a Sharpball diamond electroplated stone with the 325 grit on one side and 1200 grit diamond on the other side. I'll come out probably with a review of it at some point, but it's a phenomenal stone. I have never, I repeat, never, ever, ever put my knife to a stone and felt the level of uniform size of the diamonds. I didn't realize how much I'd be able to feel it, but all the diamond stones I've had in the past, you put the knife to it when you first use it, and even the fine side, you just can hear it scraping across. It's like, and this Sharpball is so smooth on the 1200 grit side. I literally could not believe it. So I did a 325 grit to set the edge apex. I don't know exactly what angle we're working with here. I just mimicked the factory angle. I assume it's somewhere around 18, 19 degrees per side, and set that angle as flat and consistent as I could by hand, and then took it up on each side to the 1200 grit diamond stone and raised a small burr on that stone, and then did edge leading alternating strokes forward across the stone to cut off as much burr as I could. From there, I went to a leather strop with a little bit more of a coarse nap to it that had 4 micron stroppy stuff diamond in it, and did really gentle strokes on that. And I started like lower to where I knew the apex wouldn't be hitting yet, and just kind of coasted it along and slowly worked up to that sharpening angle, and just tried to sort of refine all of that texture in and remove some flaky burr that's there. From there, I took it to a Spyderco Ultrafine Bench Stone, and I did alternating edge leading passes on the Spyderco Ultrafine. Spyderco Ultrafine is a great final cleanup in my opinion if you can use it, if the steel's not too hard and full of vanadium. And you can kind of snip that burr off a little bit and get a really fine but still pretty aggressive edge on Spyderco Ultrafine. So I did passes on that until I couldn't feel any burr at all anymore, and I did Murray's test of edge sharpness, Murray Carter's 3-finger test to feel how sharp it felt. It was coming up really nice in terms of aggression. And then I headed back to the strop and did a leather strop, like a flat, smooth, hard leather strop with 1 micron stroppy stuff, and probably did 15 to 20 light passes on each side of the edge on that. I believe after that, I did just a few passes on hanging kangaroo strop that's unloaded, like no diamond, no abrasive in it, just to sort of do that final refining. I really like hanging kangaroo if you can get your hands on it. So right off the stones, things that I noticed, I was like, oh, I just shot this video, so I should do some sharpness tests. The first thing I did is I found a hair and it whittled no problem. And it's like funny because any adult hair that I got, I'll throw a video up right now, but this thing just produces the most beautiful whittles on a hair. I should have tried double hair whittling, but I didn't even think to try it. It's probably not double hair whittling yet. But I took my kids' hairs. I found a couple of my daughter's hairs, and they're actually so small that it wouldn't whittle a kid diameter of hair, and it would whittle an adult, i.e. my wife, Danny. One of her hairs, it would whittle beautifully, no problem. So that's one thing that's an interesting note, like hair size, hair diameter, hair health actually plays into hair whittling, and there's not a lot of sharpeners that will maybe carry an awareness of that. So we're gonna work our way through to best testing this and see what it's at. But I'm very pleased with the level of aggression that I can still feel. It's not like crazy, but it feels good for a fine edge. I don't want to be just like running my fingers back and forth willy-nilly. Definitely will hold on the thumbnail. Those are some tests I referenced. I forgot to mention paper towel, and a bunch of people mentioned this in the comments of my last video. Paper towel is a paper test that is more focused on aggression and cut initiation, which is cool because printer paper is not. I haven't tried this yet on a paper towel. Do be aware if you settle on paper towel as like, this is my testing method, that different like forms of paper towel are different brands, different types are actually going to operate completely different. This is cutting the paper towel. It's clean. It's not the nicest paper towel slice I've ever experienced in my life. Do be aware if you end up doing the paper towel test that, well, that was nice. Do be aware that there's a big difference between holding both sides and just holding one side. Like holding both sides, you can really fly through that stuff. I have never tried Alex Garland's sort of like hook it in and try to cut it straight down. It's not sharp enough to do that. Toilet paper is another one that people use. I don't love toilet paper. I don't get the best results on it because I'm not real practiced at producing a toilet paper slicing edge. But some people can do really well with that. This fine edge is not doing super great. If I grab both sides, I could definitely get through a bit, but it's not wanting to bite in so far as I can tell with just a hanging paper towel. Yeah, not wanting to do the just hanging toilet paper very well. Again, be aware, different weaves, different brands of toilet paper will act different edge shapes, different steels, but this is not a great toilet paper slicing edge on this particular knife. But it all depends on what you're going for. These are two tests, the paper towel and the toilet paper, that will tell you a little bit more about the draw cut slicing action of it and not just a push cut. So on printer paper, when I'm doing printer paper, I'm just looking for how are we in terms of how clean it is, chips you can draw through really slow and just feel like, are there any catches in the edge? I'm really pleased with this in that sense. You can also see if it's push cutting. So for me, in my experience, my opinion, you guys can pitch in the comments because this whole conversation is helpful. Like we are all able to learn things from each other. But for me, I sort of think of slice cutting where you draw across like this. That's one level of sharp in a paper cut test. And this is definitely effectively accomplishing that. I always think of push cutting as sort of like the next level of sharp. If you can just hold the knife in the place and pull the paper across it, or actually push the knife through and it doesn't rip, then you're kind of a tier higher than slice cutting. In terms of aggression or cut initiation, you can test it a little bit with a piece of printer paper. The best way I know how is to kind of curl it over gently. You don't want to layer it too much and make it too strong. But then if you can actually catch and initiate a cut on the flat, then you actually have quite good cut initiation in my experience. There's a big difference between your sort of perpendicular cut like this and you're sort of pushing through the flat surface on the side of the paper cut, especially if it's just one layer. So that is something that at times I will do to see how we've done with cut initiation. I like that test for that. Okay, some other things you can do. Sorry, I'm sort of this beheaded body at this point, but other things you can do that people brought up, you can carve into hardwood or bone gently, and that is a lot like a best tester in that it will show you how stable and damage-free your edge is. If you don't have a best tester, you don't have those things, a gentle test that I do at times, even mid-sharpening, is, if you have heavy canvas pants like this, you can sort of scrape the edge sideways on it. Now, don't do it on pants you really love because it will decrease the life of your pants. But then you can feel the edge to see if any metal is so flexible that scraping across those fibers sideways pulled it over. And a really well cleaned up edge will have minimal edge bend from scraping across a really chunky fabric like this. Just a fun note, okay, you guys should try this if you haven't. I really like, if I'm deburring by ceramic stone in particular, or if I'm doing a final deburr on a really like chunky diamond stone because I want that like rough aggressive finish to last, something that I'll do is I'll do my edge leading strokes alternating, and then when I can't feel any more burr, I'll scrape it like good and hard sideways on my pants and wrap any metal that's actually still flexible enough to be wrapped that way to one side, and then put that side flat to the stone and do an edge leading stroke to cut it off. And then I'll drag the other way and bend any metal the other way that's flexible enough to move that way and come back and cut that metal off. And in those ways, like the fabric in your pants is not really gonna significantly hurt most edges, but you can actually do these things where you can affect only the metal that is soft or damaged enough to be affected in that way and push it in a direction in order to cut it all off evenly. So stuff like that can be really fun. Okay, before we cut off the video, let's best test this. A quick word about best testing is that it's easy to look really good if you do it too fast, and it's easy to look really good if you cut in certain motions. So if you're gonna use a best tester and you want the numbers to be tried and true, if you're doing true research, I'm gonna switch this around so I can use my dominant hand. In my experience, I don't like holding the blade on both sides and pushing it through. I find that the wobble of that reduces the best number in a way that I don't like. I like to use the pedestal. I have not done a bunch of conclusive testing to prove that. I also like to go really, really slow, as you'll see this test is. And if you've got an edge with a crazy curve like this is almost like tactical Spidey chef in the shape of the edge. But if you test it up here, you will get a better number. Like if that super curved portion is coming across the line will move, and in that moving, it will snap easier. So I like to test in the flat portion of the edge because I find it seems like it gives you a truer read or a truer number. Now I'm gonna just try not to hit the pedestal with the actual knife scale. But the other thing you wanna do is keep it still from rattling side to side and go really slow. The unfortunate part about this is that you're sort of doing all this stuff for integrity's sake. It's not like it's gonna reward you with like a better reading. That's actually, all these things are gonna make it look worse on the reading, but they're actually gonna give you true data and true information as a sharpener. And if that's what you're after, man, like I just encourage you, use the best machine, honestly. I don't know what this is gonna read. I'm pleased with the edge. Like the other tests that we've done, it's aggressive enough and it's fine enough for me, and it's hair whittling, but I'm pretty happy with the performance that we're getting in the other tests. Now, this has hit a 156 on that one. Okay. Anyway, I just want to highlight, like, these are some different things you can do to get a read on different attributes of your edge. And in addition to that, I'd recommend that as you use your edge, like, I'm happy with the different measurements that we've taken on this thing, but for the first few days of use, I'm going to be like feeling the edge on the sides and seeing if it's bending and observing the performance to see whether like that sharpening protocol that I came up with for this is something that I'm happy with as a long-term option on this particular steel. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys have a great night. For now, I'll just say peace out from the home slice. You guys take care.